There are no item fees. That's right. Take this opportunity to move items from the other guys and sell it for free. You might even win a Samsung tablet, Amazon gift cards, and other cool prizes. BuySellMakeOffer.com is the future of online selling. You can use Skype to talk to your buyer or seller. Plus, you can use video to showcase your items. BuySellMakeOffer.com.
This is Scientific American's 60-Second Science. I'm Karen Hopkin. This will just take a minute. When you think about air pollution, you may picture smokestacks belching out noxious black clouds or the gas-guzzling SUVs crowding the highways. But different cultures found different ways to foul the atmosphere long before the Industrial Revolution. The latest example of pre-industrial pollution comes from Peru almost half a millennium ago. To get a read on what humans have been ejecting into the air, researchers pulled ice cores from Kcaa, a glacier high in the Andes. The samples provide an annual archive of elements that have been circulating in the atmosphere, stretching back to the year 793. Analyzing the core, the researchers found that prior to about 1532, the ice harbored only a sprinkling of dust and ash, remnants of the occasional volcanic eruption. But at about the 1540 mark, corresponding with the start of colonial mining and metallurgy, the cores suddenly contained chromium, molybdenum, antimony, and lead. The finding is in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Of course, these waste products are a proverbial drop in the bucket compared to the toxins we put out today, because we've developed ways to pollute that people back then could only have dreamed of. Thanks for the minute. For Scientific American's 60-Second Science, I'm Karen Hopkin.
Here's a look at the KCAA community calendar. You can win tickets to the Junior University Musical Theater presentation of The Jungle Book. Just listen to KCAA all day long and get ready to win. Are you looking for adventurous entertainment for the whole family? Then join Junior University for a musical theater experience that is unmatched under the stars at Roosevelt Bowl in Paris Hill Park. This year, it's Mugwai and the Adventures in the Heart of the Jungle as Junior University presents William R. Dixon's adaptation of The Jungle Book. Show dates are July 17th through August 1st. Starting time is 8:15 p.m. General admission is just $10 for adults, and children 12 years old and younger are just $5. Two parents and all their children under 18 years can purchase a family ticket at the box office for just $25, and you can save 20% on a family ticket if you print it out at home by going to junioruniversity.org. Listen to KCAA and win tickets to The Jungle Book. And that's a look at the KCAA community calendar. I'm Mark Westwood.
It's America's entertainment pop culture show, and it's here on KCAA. Hi, this is David Cohen, along with
Douglas Viviani.
Join us for Everything Old is New Again, Saturdays at 2 o'clock on CNBC KCAA 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen on the case for truth and justice with the right information to help improve the situation. I want to say hello to everybody that was attending the first, well, can't say first annual until the second annual takes place, and you can refer to the first as the first annual. But with all of the good intentions, this is the first annual My Music, My Mic Indie Artist Awards program put together by Lou Productions, saluting the Inland Empire's independent music artists, basically the hip-hop genre. And they did a great job last night. I was there with my old self, you know, the OG. That's what they give a guy like me. Say OG. That's for old gentleman, I believe. And they actually gave an award out named for me, Wallace Allen. I was extremely gratified and happy to participate, but there's just something about when people younger than you salute you, and I just appreciate that they saluted me. And of course, you can't salute me without saluting Miss Josephine. And so we appreciate all of that, but more importantly, we had an opportunity to see a couple of old school hip-hop artists, MC Mike, still doing it. Latte Wilson, still doing it. presenting great music, presenting a good history, good show last night. Congratulations, Lou Dowdy. You did a great job, and we look forward to next year for this second annual Music is My Mic, My Music, Independent Music Awards program. Inland Empire, be proud, did a great job last night. And the 777 Allen Street was hopping last night, too. The Friends Band had them kicking their heels up till early this morning. As a matter of fact, a couple people suggested they were going to call the program this morning, but I'll bet that they're at home snoozing, or they should be, because they were kind of leaning sideways as I looked at them last. Not that maybe I was leaning sideways. I'm not sure. But we had a great time last night. San Bernardino, Inland Empire, we're proud of how things have been going. This is Empire Talks Back, brought to you by West Side Story Newspaper, the Improved Association, San Bernardino County Sentinel. And we're supporting the 2015 African Global Economic Development Summit. That's this week's, folks. August 6th, 7th, and 8th in Los Angeles at the University of Southern California will be a gathering of people who are involved and interested in doing trade with the continent of Africa and the 54 nations that compose the continent there. So this event will take place beginning on Thursday morning. It's not too late. You can register. There'll be great workshops, great plenary sessions where you will hear people talk about such things as transportation, such things as, how to really get yourself squared away for trade, and introduction of some of the people who can say yes. Everybody can tell you no. But to be able to meet those folks that can say, yes, we want to do business with you, that's one of the promises that the African Global Economic Development Summit gives and will certainly deliver on if you're able to get there. Go to AGEDSUMMIT.com. That's the agedsummit.com, and you will get an opportunity to register. There's a number of levels of registration. It's probably not too late for you to give a bunch of money if you want to sponsor, but I doubt if you guys are still lurking around. But it's a great opportunity for individuals to come and meet someone that can help you become a millionaire. If you're interested in that, you may be. Then again, you may not be. Today's topic, and I don't want to ignore what that's going to be. Listen, folks, if you're flying model airplanes with cameras on them, if you're peeking in people's windows, or if you've got your little drone hoovering over my backyard, watching my grandkids swim or watching my beautiful wife lay around in her bathing suit, I got news for you, folks. I'm not going to just let you hoover and spy in my yard, and I congratulate those people who have decided the same. These drones are, drones is the new name. Model airplanes, that's what they've been. We've had regulations for that for years, but we are finding that these people that are flying some of these drones now are doing a dangerous thing. They've prevented firefighters from fighting fires. More, I think, of an interest to most of us is the ability to keep your privacy. And I'm not sure if the drone people are doing that at this point. So that's one of the things we definitely want to talk about. I see that Mr. Evans has joined us on the line. Good morning, Mr. Leonard Evans. How are you today?
Fabulous, delightful, and good news to you as well.
Oh, sounds like you got your money.
Well, enough of it to have a smile on my face.
Isn't it a wonderful thing?
It is.
Isn't it something? And I guess that's one of the things that makes America great. One moment you could not be feeling that well, and then one of the government employees could drop by, leave you a piece of paper with some numbers on it, signed and officially letting you know that your boat has arrived, or some level of it. And it certainly makes things brighter. So, Mr. Evans, we're going to get a chance to talk about the drones and how much of an impact these things are having and could possibly have. So I want to prepare you for being, I'm going to need you to answer a few questions for me. I know that you've had a history of working with model planes, and I know that trains are your thing now, but I do remember you like to put together those model planes and stuff like that. When is it okay to fly your drone? Can you take photos or provide views into my private activity with your drone? Should safety officials be allowed to shoot down a drone that's interfering with official safety activities? A man was recently arrested for shooting down a drone, and was that right? Because the drone was hovering above his yard where his daughters were sunbathing. Mr. Evans, I'll get back to those questions shortly, and I know that you'll be able to represent and give us some interesting angles on how to deal with that. Meanwhile, I've got a young man on the phone that shared an experience with me last night. He was at the My Music, My Mic independent artist program last night. Mr. Justified Smith, how are you this morning? Man,
I'm feeling good, brother. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just surprised.
So I could join you, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I'm so allowing me the opportunity to join you on your show once again, this time via the phone instead of right there in the studio with you.
Yeah, I do appreciate when you come in the studio. You always are exciting to be around, and we can't help but enjoy your music. I'm surprised that you got home early enough to get up and call me this morning. Tell the truth. Are you calling? Are you calling from home, or are you sleep in the car and just calling me from the?
When it's something important like getting on the line with you and then probably dials back, I got to wake up.
Well, I sure can appreciate that. It was a great program last night. What do you think?
Oh man, I had a great time. Very professional. Anything that goes on is going to have a kick or two, especially when it's your first annual. But overall, man, I give them 2 thumbs up. The venue was beautiful. Everything about it was great, man. I had a good time. I really don't enjoy myself as much as I probably should when I go to certain events. But last night it was all family and just, man, I seen a lot of people I hadn't seen in a long time, and I think they did a marvelous job with their production.
Very reunion-like. I appreciated that. You've got an event coming up on the 8th of August. It's part of your nonprofit arm, your group. I guess, what are we talking about? The Men of Faith in Action.
Yeah, the Men of Faith in Action, the Mafia, just out here trying to, do some good and do our part in making a difference.
Oh, my goodness. I just noticed that. That's not Men in Faith. It's Men of Faith in Action, and the acronym is Mafia.
Mafia. You know what I'm saying? It don't get no raw than the Mafia. You feel me? God got a Mafia, too.
That's right. Okay, and you guys you're working on an event called Heal the Vild, referring, of course, to Victorville and the Victorville area, the high desert. This event is going to take place on the 8th. We're going to take a short break right now, Mr. Justified Smith. And when we come back, we're going to let you tell us more about what you and I see you've partnered up with our friend Terry Boykins of Street Positive. You're involved with this program is in cooperation with the Million Father March. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to let you tell us what you guys are doing to help the community of how you're going to work to heal the Ville. And we'll be right back, and
yes,
great shot to talk to Mr. Justified Smith, one of the great music makers of the Inland Empire. He's also involved in making young men move into the category of grown men. Good deal.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
For more local radio every day, tune in to KCAA Loma Linda.
Empire Talks back, brought to you by West Side Story newspaper. Hey, if you've got a business and you want folks to know more about it, hear more about it, give West Side Story newspaper a call. They can do your advertising, your public relations outreach, and I don't know, we might even wash your car if you're going to let us use it for a week. 384-8131, that's in the area, 909. Give it a call. Let West Side Story newspaper work for you. I'm Wallace Allen. We're talking right now to Mr. Justified Smith, a musician of the world who happens to live in the Inland Empire. He's also a concerned father, a concerned neighbor, and a person that wants you to do what you can do to help make the world a better place. And he's setting an example. He has a nonprofit organization called Men of Faith in Action. He is working along with several other groups to present on the 8th of August an opportunity for parents, young parents, children to come and get what he's calling some blessed packages. Tell us what those blessed packages consist of, if you will, Mr. Smith.
We're going to be giving away diapers, baby wipes, bottles, any supplies that might help, a family that's not necessarily broke or poor, but just need a little blessing, you know what I mean? And, we want to do that. Terry Boynton, Street Positive, he brought this opportunity to me with my involvement in the Million Father March. And he was like, hey, Just, it's time to bring a blessing to Victorville. And who better to do it than, myself? So actually, last month in July, I had a pallet, diapers provided by Street Positive and some of their sponsors. And, we just rolled around the community and handed out diapers, pulled up on people I seen with small children. And, I'm like, y'all need some diapers? And the first thing they say is, how much? And I say, nah, I just want to bless you. We give them 2-3 packs of diapers, just to take the edge off a little bit. And we decided to go ahead and host an event at a location to where they can just come to us and, pick up some things that they may need. And
where is the location? Where will you be on the 8th of August?
We're going to be out here on the corner of Condor and Mojave Drive. The address is 15752 Mojave Drive. I'll be G Family Beauty Supply and Ringside Barbecue in their parking lot. And they'll also be offering 10% off of everything during that Hill the Ville situation, to be a blessing to our community. Sometimes, we live and we eat off of our communities, but we never give back. And I've definitely been blessed in Victorville, hustling out the trunk, selling my CDs, back in the day when I was, the movie man. And it's like, you got to give something back. And God had gave me that vision for Hill the Ville maybe 5 years ago. And, I reached out to people and tried to get them, to jump on board, and it never really happened. But, when
it's happening on
this to me the opportunity to be able to be a blessing, and we're going to try to do it every month, and we will change the supplies. Right now we're on the baby diapers. Next time we'll be doing something else, just something that's going to help somebody that need a little help.
Well, now with the your work with the Million Father March, school is starting. The idea with the Million Father March, of course, is that across the country we want 1 million or more fathers to walk their children to school on the first day, at least on the first day. And that seems to have,
bro, because I take my kids to school, every day. Even, while my wife was living, that was, what I did. I got up in the morning, got the kids ready, took them to school, and the ratio of father to mothers is crazy. You don't see too many men, out there, picking up and dropping off their children. So, Terry and Street Positive and the whole Million Father March thing is to encourage, fathers to, get involved in their kids' schooling and take them to school, hold their hand, walk them up to the gate and give them that kiss on the cheek and, send them in there to learn.
That's a good deal. That's a very good deal. Justified Smith, we're extremely proud to know you. Happy to do anything and everything we can to support your activities. I just want to make one thing clear. Many of our parents are so enamored with our children and our babies that we think that when we say a blessed package and talk about diapers, some of these parents think it's a full diaper. You're talking about an empty, ready-to-be-used diaper, not one that's already been used. No matter how much, the mommy and daddy love their little baby, we're not,
diapers are expensive, and I can remember, my babies being young, and
back in the day,
they go through them, and you gotta have them. So if we can save somebody one trip, to the store, that's just gonna make their week a little easier. That's a blessing. That's why we call them blessed packages, because it's from God. He provided. We just carrying out the mission.
Wonderful work. I do appreciate you. Take care. Keep up the good work, and let us know what we can do to support you in the future. Justified Smith.
You on blast on the air, man. I'm planning my very first annual Men of Faith and Action Awards, and I want you to know you are on that list. For me to honor you. For all that you've done through your faith, in the Inland Empire, and you're a fixture in our community, man. And I'm glad, that my mom introduced me to you so many years ago, and that you and I are still in touch.
God is great, and I'm extremely grateful, especially for young folk with a conscience like you. And of course, I guess I'm at the age where everybody's young, but that's okay. I'm working with it.
Every time I see you, you're looking young.
I appreciate it.
Taking some reversal pills or something.
That's Miss Beautiful Josephine trying to keep me on it. Listen, we appreciate you. Keep up the good work, Mr. Justified Smith of Men of Action, Men of Faith in Action. And of course, she's representing our good friend Terry Boykin, Street Positive, and I'm sure we'll get a shot at talking to Terry sometime in the future. Keep up the good work, my man. I do appreciate you. Matter of fact,
I love you, boss.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Mood Master, keep it up. I really like how you're kicking it. Of course, I'm talking to Mr. Anthony Garcia, the man who's laying down the wonderful little bass background as we talk. Mr. Evans, we have been discussing something I laid on your mind before we went into our conversation with Mr. Smith. One little story about the diaper. Or should I tell a story about the diaper? I will save that. But I remember the days when we didn't have disposable diapers. You had pins, that you would put the diaper back together again. I'm sure Mr. Garcia remembers those days. And just to demonstrate the level of affection that parents have when they're changing those diapers, where is the first place the guy puts that safety pin while he's preparing anyway, I don't know. You put it in your mouth, if that ain't big love, there ain't no such thing. Baby diaper pin in your mouth. You did it. May not brag about it, but I am, because I have people talk about me now because I'm not much of a diaper changer, but I remember when I was, and I was extremely committed at it, and I guess I'm feeling a little guilty, so I'm making a confession here. Mr. Evans, drones, privacy. Should we be able to shoot these drones down? A couple of weeks ago, there was a big fire here in the Inland Empire, where the fire was rushing across the freeway, setting cars and stuff on fire. The helicopters were trying to work to put these fires out, and they had to stop because there was a drone. I don't know if the guy was taking pictures, if he was just flying his plane, but they actually stopped fighting the fire because of the presence of the drone. I suggest, without even thinking about it too long, shoot the drone down. What is your response, sir?
Well, I vote yes on that.
Oh.
Because I believe these are very dangerous. Maybe folks don't understand what it's like to carry a huge amount of water close to a fire. Fires are causing hot air to rise rapidly, and airplanes can be upset by that rapidly moving air. So when you're coming in to drop water on the fire, you have to be very careful. You can make a mistake and be in the ground before you know it, because the helicopters weighted down like this and the airplanes weighted don't maneuver very well. And nobody stops to think about that. Oh, they'll just move around the drone. It's no big deal. No. Having to deal with something like that at the last minute on your approach can be fatal. So, yeah, shoot them down.
Shoot them down.
From the ground, by the way.
Not from the airplane. But now there was a couple of incidents in New York where fully loaded passenger planes were not altered. They didn't alter their flight. They came on and landed, but there were drones within 200 feet of the plane. Now, that is extremely dangerous. The drone could be sucked into the jet engines. I just think that we are, and now I'm looking at also the privacy factor. There was a man who shot a drone down. The drone.
He's in trouble.
Well, yeah, they arrested him, but the drone was hoovering in his yard. His daughters were sunbathing. He didn't know if it had a camera, and due to another recent development, he couldn't be sure that there wasn't a pistol on the drone that was designed to shoot at whomever that could have had an accident and shot at him or his family. So he went and got his shotgun and he removed the drone from the air. But you're right, they arrested him. If you were on the jury, just hearing what you've heard, just say the evidence being that the drone was hanging over his yard, 25, 30 feet above his yard. Nobody else's yard was involved. He didn't shoot it while it was next door, which it did spend time next door, looking under the veranda, under the patio roof of the neighbor's house. He didn't shoot it down then, but he did come to his house and he shot it down. If you were on the jury, would you give him time or buy him a hamburger?
Well, we probably wind up. I'd buy him a hamburger. Make it simple. But they probably wind up saying, well, you were guilty of violating, discharging a weapon within the city limits. At the same time, we're going to give you a conviction, a suspended sentence, and then we're going to avoid the conviction.
Okay.
Something like that. So they go through the motions of saying that was wrong, but the effect on him would be very minimal.
Well, now, the idea that I fired my gun in the city boundaries, what if there were a burglar or a robber or a bear approaching me and causing me to have to respond like that?
There are reasons to discharge your weapon.
There's certainly reasons to discharge your weapon, and whatever that reason is, I suppose that they would have to, litigate that and adjudicate the reasoning for it. But in general, you agree that these drones need to be regulated and kept in order.
Having said that, I'll say that my experience with model airplanes and regulation was that we as a group had to fight the FCC because they wanted to take the frequency that we're using for radio control away from us. Now, they said, you can just switch to another channel. Well, fine. My radio, the one that I've installed in the aircraft, and the thousands of other people who have all this installed equipment, what are they supposed to do with that?
Okay.
Oh, it's a big mess. And we almost lost, because there were people that argued and said, this is too dangerous, it'll interfere with the aircraft, we ought to ground all these things. And other people say, look, they're just hobbyists.
So we
flying at a few hundred feet in every direction. Give them a break. But the government had these regulations and their need for more spectrum. So it wasn't a simple situation.
So what we're going to do,
always something like that coming up.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to let Mr. Evans and some of you possibly give a call and talk about the difference between a drone and an airplane hobbyist, and see if we can draw some lines and distinguish between the two, and figure out a way to see how to not shoot down the hobbyist airplane, how to distinguish that from a drone that's spying on me, or possibly carrying a pistol to shoot my dog. I don't know. We're going to talk about this. We'll be right back. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, on the case for truth and justice, with the right information to help improve the situation. Right here on KCAA 1050 on your dial. We'll be right back.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
Somebody is watching you, that's for sure. Now, whether they're watching you because you are wanting to be watched or not makes a big difference. You know, there's some people who walk around. Listen, they've got a whole new terminology for women's clothes. They got a dress they call the naked dress.
Oh.
Okay, so there's some people who are exhibitionists. They want to be seen. I understand that. But do they usually do that behind a 6 or 7 foot fence? And this is where I'm worried about your little drone or even your hobbyist airplane coming into my yard or someone else's yard with a camera, or as a young man back east was able to do with the help of his professor. Well, the school denies that the professor was involved. But he built a drone and mounted a nice little pistol on it and a camera so that he would be able to, let's say, do target practice. Maybe he was going to, I don't know who he was going to shoot. I can't really come up with an answer that makes it okay for a teenager to have a drone that has a gun on it. I can't come up with an answer for making that be okay. Maybe someone can call in and give me an answer for that. The number would be 888-909-1050. That's 888-909-1050. For anybody who can explain to me why it's okay for a teenager to have a drone with a pistol attached to the drone. You may even want to just tell me anything that has to do with why it's okay for a teenager to be walking around with a gun or flying a gun around.
I've got another why is it okay question.
And that is the voice of Mr. Jamal Lilly. Go ahead, sir.
I've got a question about why do we think it's okay to use surveillance satellites to find out how to get from point A to point B. Exactly. But why do we not think about the fact that if these satellites are able to give us street view from outer space, that there must be something else that is possibly being done to surveillance us unbeknownst to us? Why do we only look at it as a tool and not as a threat?
Somebody's watching you. Well, Mr. Evans?
Oh, I'd be glad to chime in on that.
Please.
I think sugar.
Is that some porn star's name or something?
It's poisonous. It's a threat. You know what? How you use it. Everything is either a benefit or a detriment on how you use it. Too much water will kill you.
It's funny. Wallace was just taking a drink of water as you said that.
They almost made me choke.
What it comes down to, it's not what we have, it's what we do with it. And if we want to solve all these problems we always talk about, if we change the mindset of people, their approach to life, then you'll have better choices. Poor choices come from a poor understanding of what's available. Life is like a smorgasbord, but it's inside of a room. All these things laid out for people. Those folks.
Hey, so this guy chooses to fly his plane over my yard, over where my daughters are sunbathing, and his choice has now created a series of potential choices for me. Now that's the problem.
It's a poor choice.
Well,
he's looking at life through a keyhole.
No, he's looking at my daughters through a damn camera from afar, and I well, anyway, that's my paranoia, and I'm shooting the plane down. Now, as far as these satellite guys, that's the government.
No, check it out.
Can't we trust them?
See, the analogy that Leonard used is fine when it's personal choice, but now we're talking about somebody giving you that sugar intravenously while you're unconscious. Now we're talking about somebody deciding for you what the technology should and shouldn't be used for and using it potentially against you. That's a different proposition.
Yeah.
Well, then you have to counter that.
How do we counter that? How do we counter that when, let's say that as often as we elect new people to go into government and have influence over these things that our long-term bureaucrats have set in place and kept in place, how much power do we really have in terms of saying, get that satellite off of me. That satellite view should not include me feeding my dog in the backyard. But then again, PETA may say, well, no, we want to be sure that what you're feeding your dog is right.
It's my dog.
Well, he's your partner. He's not your dog.
If I had a pig or a cow, I could kill him when I'm ready and eat him when I'm ready.
Oh, this is true, but you can't. Well, what does PETA say about you eating that cow?
No, they don't like it, but they can't make it illegal. They can't surveillance me justifiably because I'm killing the cow and eating the cow. Okay. And if I'm Asian, they can't do it if it's a dog. And I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but generally speaking, those are the people that eat dogs and cats. So, I mean, where do you draw the line?
If I'm lost out in the desert and I'm able to catch up with anything that I could eat, why can't that satellite see my lost behind and find me and bring me home?
Right, that's the point. Why are they using
why can't that satellite go backwards, and read some of the tape that it's got and find me these airplanes that have blown up that we're looking for?
Right.
And how come they can't go back and use that satellite and tell me who that was hanging over the fence? Was it really OJ? I mean, if we've got this kind of surveillance, and I've seen what appears to be pictures of them being able to look at a nickel or a dime and read a license plate on a car, but we can't find the bad guys. We let Boko Haram run around with. Come on.
I would submit to you it's not that they can't, it's that they don't want to, because if they kept doing that, they would convince you that they have this ability to surveillance at will, and they don't want you thinking about it like that.
Well,
they want it to be not real time.
Well, then go get the bad guy and say that he just disappeared, but they haven't found the bad guy. So does this stuff really work, or is it hit and miss, super guess, or is it only used to?
It's like
what's it used for?
It's like the pharmaceuticals that make you sicker and you got to go back to the doctor. Why would they find all the bad guys with the technology? Then that decreases the need for a prison state. It decreases the need for law enforcement. It decreases the need for you to need someone to protect you from a boogeyman.
So we've got great tools that could help humanity, and we tend to use them to cause confusion and argument. Listen.
Confusion and argument is what they need. That's what they want. But they are the people that are trying to sell you security.
Well, I'll buy a slice of it.
I think what Mr. Lilly is suggesting is that it would be difficult, if many of the problems we face every day are corrected, to continue making money. So if we set society up in a better way, a lot of jobs, businesses, services would no longer be required. Mm-hmm. So everyone, the thousands, tens of thousands, billions even, of businesses want to protect their interests and want to keep their thing going. So every time you propose an idea, and I did this, and my father did this, and talked to a lot. Oh, everybody wanted these changes. Oh, yeah. But when it came right down to it, no, they didn't. Well, if you read a book called Merchants of Misery by Michael Hudson, it's hard to find, but it shows the conflict between correcting these things and the financial disruption that it would cause.
And when we say financial disruption, let's be clear. We're not talking about the cessation of money moving. We're talking about maybe a change in direction,
right,
and a new landing place for the money. So
not using as much of it.
So what we're really talking about here is the fair argument that goes on between people who are trying to make money. When I say fair argument, everything seems to be fair in making money in war. There seems to be no limitation on what you can really do. There are a lot of spoken rules, but it appears that if you don't get caught, that's the number one rule in many of these activities. Okay, so let's agree.
Wrong or suspicious things, yes.
Let's agree that we have surveillance systems that are powerful enough to see everything. Now, maybe we don't have enough recording space to record everything, but then that doesn't make sense either.
Snowden told us differently.
Yeah. So we're out here under the surveillance of each other. You don't have access to the records. I don't have access to the records. Should we be worried and upset? Have we recently seen any, almost bad guys get misused? Do we have any Congress people, for instance, that are getting picked on because they're trying to do the right thing?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the question is going after that issue, is that the best use of our individual time? Will that yield the most benefit for us? That's what it comes down to.
Benefit for us.
You know, Wallace.
Who is the us when we say benefit for us?
The individual. The individual that feels that they're being spied on or being led down the cattle chute to the slaughter and that sort of thing.
Well, now,
if they're going to worry, you can worry about that, or you can say, well, if that's going on, what am I doing to counteract that?
When I see someone else getting spied on, it doesn't make me feel that I'm being spied on. Well, yes, it does. It makes me know that I could be spied on, but then again, I could get AIDS and I could get cancer and I could get measles. But like most people, that ain't gonna happen to me. So even when I see your privacy destroyed, disrupted, misused, placed on Facebook or general YouTube, it couldn't happen to me. Boy, they sure did mess up Leonard's life. It couldn't happen to me. Identity theft, that won't happen to me. The government, everybody seems to be more and more exposed to these kind of things that interrupt our privacy, disrupt our ability to. But then it happens so often. It's like, well, Bill Cosby hasn't died.
You ever heard the old saying that was attributed to Martin Luther King? You know, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Okay.
There's a similar economic paradigm. When you get into a situation where you have financial problems that didn't directly impact you, but because they exist, you pay a cost also in terms of macroeconomics, because it costs more overall to mitigate a risk that didn't exist before, and no one's doing enough to mitigate now, et cetera, et cetera. This is why I like Africa.
Okay.
Because you don't have a lot of these established paradigms yet. It's really the last place I know of that's somewhat open, in some cases wide open, to implement something that makes more sense in an economic backdrop, in an economic situation or circumstance that includes billions of people.
Energy for one. In this day and age, if you're beginning to create an energy movement, would you build wires? Would you do it with wires, or would we tend to go wireless?
Well, what you would do first is you would make it remote. You would eliminate the need for a grid. You'd make it localized so that you don't have to transmit power across great distances.
So that's one of the unencumbered type of circumstances that you're talking about.
And then the transmission of the power. You know, Tesla, we talked about this before. He invented a way to transmit electrical current without wires, just by modulating it. So you don't even need wires, just like you transmit this radio signal. So what if that were something that were actually going to be implemented? Now, of course, that's a little bit out there in terms of what the powers that be would want to see implemented, but you can do things remotely and locally to where you don't have this grid that can be manipulated like Enron did.
And small enough that you don't really catch the attention immediately of the big guys.
Right. And then it's established. It becomes known that this works.
But that's how we fight the battle.
Right.
And that's really a capitalistic battle, because
it's a better idea.
Well, but yeah, it's a better idea, and you've got to be manipulative and clever about how you put it out there, because it's like trying to steal the food out of the big dog's plate. You know?
I think we're talking about establishing principles or rules.
Well, the rules tend to be established. They tend to get changed as you go along and gain a little power, because the rules that are established are generally there to protect the status quo. Now, we're not necessarily talking about an evil.
But there's no status quo in Africa. I think that's Mr. Lilly's point, that you have a chance to establish a way of approaching powering Africa,
right,
that can embody rules that stop the problems that we've seen from history and past experience. Because now we know, well, this can happen, so if you want this outcome, then you have to stop these things from sidetracking it along the way. And you have that opportunity because it's not an established thing in Africa at this point.
Right. So new money has an opportunity to find itself and grow in a situation like Africa.
Indeed.
You know, so as we look at the things that some people may complain about in terms of the, you know, is it the air conditioning isn't that, wow, good. That air conditioning guy should stand up and say, oh, there's some opportunity for me there.
Well, there is, because these things are produced here, by and large. So the people that have these innovative ideas here in the United States that can't find traction in this economy, they potentially can have a place where their idea would gain traction and become more widespread, come into normalized use, and be greater and greater demand as time goes on.
So these intrusions on our privacy, these technical things that come up, always represent an opportunity to be misused. And as Mr. Evans so astutely put it, the decision, you know, how do you use these things? How do you take advantage of them? And how do you keep yourself from being taken advantage of? Those are all elements of the society that we live in that people can get paid to create the answers to. So everything that we're talking about here, believe me, folks, we're not throwing up our hands in despair. We're trying to figure out.
Keep in mind, looking for answers. An incomplete question yields an incomplete answer. And incomplete answers yield incomplete solutions.
And
so you have to ask a thorough question to begin with, and realize that in Africa, let's say you put this great idea in, you know, and you got power and all that kind of stuff, everything's working good, you're solar, or you're distributing properly, and then someone in Africa in a laboratory learns how to manipulate uranium in such a way so that you can now generate power by releasing small amounts of energy from all kinds of different elements. And now you don't need any of this other stuff. All that infrastructure, people, the money that was being made, they don't need that anymore. Is there going to be somebody who says, you know, it's really in our best interest to use this new technology and endure all the pain and the change that's going to come with this? Because that point could be reached. And this is the nature of what we're doing. And that's why until everybody gets on a different page about the goal and what we're trying to create, we're going to keep facing those kinds of interruptions.
Well, you know, and those are not necessarily interruptions, Mr. Evans. They appear to be the stair steps that create the progress for us, because I doubt that anything that we can foresee is going to get everybody to decide to do the same thing at the same time. And that's okay. That's really good. These little ideas tend to be little bubbles that grow. Some of them pop and disappear, but some of them actually grow. And that being the opportunity, it has demonstrated for us in the past that no matter how remote the possibility appears to be, that little teeny things can grow and become big, powerful things. And that's got to be encouraging for those who have little intangibles, but much in vision. So I think we're in pretty good shape. I'm not mad at the creation of the model airplane, which has been turned into a drone. I am concerned about my privacy, and I know what to do to a certain extent about protecting it. But the main thing is to try to use these tools for the benefit of mankind in a way that's going to make mankind better. And if it can make me a few bucks on the way, now we're talking about the American dream as it extends itself across the planet. A fair idea, a fair exchange for some fair income. Is that fair?
What we have here is not a situation that's going to make a drastic right turn, but rather something that we have to decide which way do we want this to curve as it goes off into the future. And there's so much debate about which direction it should curve because of what I think is lack of factual information that is being discussed.
Yes. Or the possibility of so much.
Trying to make money in the short term, but that is what the solution is, to bend the direction that we're going, curve it, and by that I mean not a sudden change that's so disruptive like what I just described, but to blend it in and keep it going. A guy told me one time that if you invented a car that could get 200 miles to the gallon, think of all the money that's been loaned on oil reserves and how the value of those reserves would plunge and the disruption that would cause. So even if somebody had the answer, you couldn't let them put it out right now.
Well,
that's faulty logic.
That's really.
No, that's one story I've heard.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a story, and it's the kind of story that helps rich people justify keeping all their money stuck up in one corner because the rest of you guys really don't know what to do with it. I mean, just think: if you had the ability to make a 200 mile per gallon car, you would just do that and destroy all of my riches. Yeah.
No, you would delay the accumulation of the riches. It doesn't destroy anything.
Well, no, the people who've already got the riches,
that's right.
They're the ones who would come up with that lame statement, you know, in order to try to make me feel bad.
Well, this is.
I'd like to see it happen so I could find out if indeed I would feel bad. I'm not sure, but there's a possibility that I would feel bad. So let's create the car and put it on the market and see if Wallace feels bad as a result of a few billionaires becoming millionaires.
That's what we did. That's what's happened in the past in the world. I mean, think about the changes and the way the world is compared to the way it was, say, 500 years ago.
Listen, I listened to Mr. Buffett and Mr. Gates talk about trying to find a way to give away all of their money. Mm-hmm. And they haven't called me. It doesn't make sense. They cannot be truly trying to put their money in other people's hands to kind of balance things. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go burn the money up. I'm not going to light cigars with $100 bills. I'm not going to make it rain. Well, the grandkids would probably feel like Papa made it rain. But the point that I'm making is give me access. I could show you how to spend some money. And I don't mean just throw it away. I believe that Mr. Lilly, I know you, Mr. Evans, the Mood Master has got a plan. Mr. Buffett, Gates, give us a call. We will not destroy things. Unless there's somebody with a drone trying to fly over into my yard and look at my...
Wallace, the problem is you don't have the ability to actually engage with these people in person.
I got a phone number. I got email.
No, they aren't calling you, and you can't call them.
Well, that's true. I've tried.
Okay, so what I'm saying, though, is a lot of these people realize, like we're talking about, you know, the person that has the invention that finally might find some traction in another economy. We're talking about this idea of the rich trying to become penniless again. Isn't this kind of biblical to you? You know, the whole thing about the last shall become first and the eye of the needle and the camel and all that.
That's right.
You know, it's a realization after a while that I don't need all this. Actually, I've been going in the wrong direction. And when you can engage with the person directly, that comes about. Let me tell you real quick. I just got a grand revelation the other day, two days ago. Just here in our own community, do you know that and you need to have them on the show, do you know that there is a conservatory of music for people from from grade 4 through 12. And they do dance and music and voice and theater and the kids put on all their own productions, and they have all the professional equipment, and they do shows, and they do full academics too, just like, you know, you would go to a school back there in New York for the arts or something like that. They have it right here in Upland.
Really?
Who knew? And guess what? It's free.
Oh, my goodness.
That's probably why we didn't hear about it.
Why is it free?
Because somebody's paying for it.
Because somebody's paying for it.
Somebody needs that kind of write-off.
Exactly.
And can use that
the
kind
man
of write-off.
that's doing it.
Well, write-off
He
wants
went-
to see a better future.
Right,
They want
well,
a good investment
precisely.
today that will reduce costs tomorrow.
You're right, man. You're right. All I'm saying is
Good
the
investment.
owner of that school, he was having to charge it first. He had a performance last year. A person of means was at the performance. They started talking directly.
Right.
And the man is like, you know what, man? How much do you need?
See, so Mr. Buffett, this is evidence that if you were to give us a call, we could put your money into
use.
great
This is real.
self-sustaining operations that are going to give back to the community and make the world a better place. In case you don't know our number, you could give us, as a matter of fact, it's listed. West Side Story, I'll touch everybody else. We just call West Side Story. We'll figure out a way to make this thing work. The Inland Empire is a jewel, and all we need to do is knock off a little of the dust so people can see
To
it
know
shine.
what's up, man.
That's really a great story. We heard a story yesterday about a very successful school in Atlanta. All of the kids are doing tremendous work. It only costs $18,000 a year for the students, and they're all there on scholarship. So once again, you know, people of benevolence is a good thing, and there are
Indeed.
people who are benevolent, and we understand and appreciate it. All I'm saying is that my number is 909-384-8131 in case you know Mr. Buffett or Mr. Gates. They're looking for somebody with some great ideas
Happen to
to
be driving.
put the
But
money out.
dig, Wallace,
we
dig.
can do it.
The people are in this community too.
That's right. Give us a call. Hey, we've had people do that, and we do appreciate them. Mr. Art Davis, for one, a great guy. He's been very helpful when we continue to appreciate his support. This is Empire Talks Back. We've been here for the quickest hour on radio. See you next week under two circumstances. One, the good Lord's willing,
Lord is willing.
and the creek don't rise. God bless you. Thank you for spending your time with me. Enjoy your day. Do a good thing for somebody.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Clayton Kershaw continuing to dominate. I'm Pete Fox. Yesterday, the Dodgers another win over the Angels. 3-1 the final. Kershaw went 8, struck out 7, including Mike Trout in the first as Kershaw wins the battle of MVPs.
The Kershaw and the other MVP, Mike Trout. Clayton delivers, drops the slow curveball in there for strike 3 called. Trout doesn't say much, kind of looks with a slight grin on his face as Kershaw throws that big high bender in